Welcome back to Split the Party. I'm your host, Steve Osbun, and today I've got John Arford and Spencer Brandt with me. We are going to be talking about the upcoming video game, Arkham Knight. I'm really excited about this game. I loved the first two games. Arkham City, Arkham Asylum, when it first came out, was a revolutionary, it was a game changer.
Yep.
Arkham City said, that's a really good game, and we're glad you like that. I think we can probably blow that apart and make it humongous.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do with Arkham Knight? How much bigger can they make it for this? We were just talking about the fact that for the first game, Arkham Asylum, because you played in the Asylum.
Yep.
Arkham City, because now you got this whole city.
Yep.
So what is your playground for Arkham Knight?
Arkham Knight, you have the entirety of Gotham City. No more sectioned off areas. They want you to feel like the Batman from the get-go. And that's exactly what they're giving you, from Batmobile access to if you want to glide through the entire city, fly around, do all sorts of crazy stuff. It's up to you. They want you to not play as the Batman, to be the Batman.
Which is awesome. I love the idea of the Batmobile portions especially. Like I can hop in my Batmobile
And the little cinematic thing of every time you call the Batmobile, he jumps up and it slides underneath and he lands, then you just take off. Oh, it's glorious.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty fantastic. So, John, you played through both of the first two games, as well. All right, and I know you are also a pretty big Batman family fan. So what are you looking forward to out of this game?
Well, my favorite part of Asylum and City were the villains. It's my favorite part of Batman in general. I'm honestly not a huge Batman fan.
I know, that's why I said family, because I know you fall on the other side of the team. You like the villains.
But God, do I love his villains. So being able to interact with the Joker, the Riddler, Penguin, honestly, I know a lot of people were like, who the heck is this guy? But one of my favorite parts of Arkham City was being able to go down into the jail cell and talk to Calendar Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I thought that was really cool.
And all those cool little Easter eggs, the Zaz missions, who's that guy that you like talk to on the rooftops?
Oh, Azrael.
Yeah,
Yep.
his missions. So I like that. I hope they do more of that.
One of the things that I really enjoyed, and they did more of in City than they did in Asylum, and I'm hoping to see more of it in Night, is when the villains came along, it wasn't just, hey, here's the Penguin, you've got to beat this guy up. There's always a level of interaction with them. The Zaz missions are a great example. You're dealing with Zaz as a problem for a long time, and you're talking to him back and forth and having conversations and interacting with him well before you ever actually get a chance to deal with him. And I like the fact that the villains are not just like level-end bosses.
That's the difference between Arkham Asylum, where it's like you're introduced to a lot of them because they're stuck in the asylum and you have to go through the different areas, and look at that Metroid feel. You're going here to get this thing.
It's
to go
their
back
level
through.
boss.
Well, that was the amazing thing that made Arkham City the groundbreaking game as it was, is that you didn't have to go to all these different villains for the actual main campaign. They didn't have a part of it, but each one of their side quests, instead of feeling like tacked on, like, oh yeah, you should go do and fight like 5 guys and then fight him. Every villain that was in that had their own storyline that you got to play through that made not only sense in there, but it wasn't just like, you were like, oh my God, I want to go track down Deadshot, like finding the clues about him and then having the little boss battle against him, or the fight against Zaz with all the hostages that he had taken. Like every part of that was just astounding from the ground up.
Yeah, and the way that the villains interact with the environment around them, the museum that the Penguin is in, when you find all these people like in the museum cases, like Talia is in. When you first walk in, I saw her and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be Talia al Ghul. Wrap up the whole thing. I was right. That's awesome. They had her locked in a glass case. It's really like the way they interact with their environments and make like. This is my home. I broke out of the asylum and I live in this museum now, so I'm making this my home. I'm putting my stuff up on the walls so that it looks like my place.
I got to nerd out for a minute there. The first time you're playing Arkham City and you're in that area and you get to beat up a shark.
Yeah.
Oh.
I punched a shark in the nose. Batman's the coolest.
You don't just punch him in the nose once. You just like combo the crap out of him. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a really great system. I'm looking forward to Night. I think it's cool that Arkham Knight is a character. They're creating a brand new character in the Batman mythos for this game. and he's already in the comics, and he will remain in the comics. So
yeah, well, the tie-in comics, we should say, not the actual.
yeah, he's
main
already.
canon.
I'm sorry, he's already on shelves.
Yes.
In tie-in comics.
Which is the interesting part about the comics is apparently they released that he's supposed to have his origin in these comics. Because Arkham Knight is supposedly going to take place 10 years after Arkham City, so that's like a massive time change for even just anything Batman.
Yeah, it says it's the official prequel
Yes.
to Arkham Knight. So, I mean, this is going to give you the backstory that you don't get in the game. Smart business practice. Yes. We would like you guys to buy our game. Also, we sell comics. Please go and buy those. It'll give you more story. It's a really smart business practice. And if the story in the game is as good as I expect it to be and as good as it has been, they're going to sell these comics based on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us just a little bit about what has been released, what information has actually been released about the game itself?
Arkham Knight, they've released, it was actually supposed to be out close to 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. They delayed it back, and they said one of the biggest reasons is they wanted it to be as, oh man, what's the word I'm looking at? Like, they want you to, like it's mentioned before.
They want it to be polished.
Yeah, they want you to be the Batman. So they pushed it solely on next-gen consoles because of, for example, the Batmobile. They want you to be able to drive the Batmobile through the entirety of Gotham, which is going to be fantastic. Well, then they said, like all the extra, they haven't released the information on it, but like, quote-unquote, side quests, like, yeah. They want it to feel like a natural part of Gotham because that's your playground this time. It's not a quarantined area. You have the entirety of Gotham that you're watching over. They did release a couple of, they've had 2 cinematic trailers, I do believe, and then they've had a couple of different walkthrough-esque trailers showing the Ace Chemical plants and showing off a lot of the new abilities that you've got. In the older Arkham games, the stealth side of the gameplay had you hopping around, taking out 1 to 2 enemies at a time, that kind of thing. But, you know, you always wanted to do more, but you couldn't really do that if you jumped down and a bunch of guys start shooting you to death. Yeah. So in this one, they've increased the system, and they're like, you know, technically as you level up your specific Batman, quote-unquote, you have the ability that if there's 3 guys in a room and they all have guns, instead of having to try and pick them off one by one, you can drop down and they show it. You land on this dude, smash his face into the ground, and if you're quick enough, you can time and chain the attack. So he leaps off him, tackles the next guy, throws him across the room through a window, and is already on the 3rd guy before that guy hits the floor.
Which is just awesome.
Yeah, they want you to be the Batman, and that's just, as a Batman fanboy, the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, obviously everybody wants to be Batman.
Well, I mean, as a video game fanboy, the battle system in the Arkham games has been excellent.
Oh, yeah.
It's honestly streamlined a lot of the combat systems in other games. I know Assassin's Creed 1 came out around the same time as Asylum, but 2, I think, picked up a lot of things from the Arkham Asylum and then Arkham City game gameplay, and like a newer title, the Legends of Middle Earth: Shadows of Mordor, I think is the title.
No,
I'm not sure.
Shadows of Mordor.
But yeah, Shadows of Mordor has the same combat system. Definitely the best part of the game, but that's for another
cool
time.
Thing, yeah, with Rocksteady making these games and Batman as a whole, it's like Batman, you know, technically like the Christopher Nolan movies helped define and get a lot more comic book movies out there, that kind of thing. The Arkham games are doing the same thing. It's not just their amazing game, but they're having a effect on the entire game industry as a whole for either superhero games or just amazing story games, amazing gameplay, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
it's really cool
their storylines have been fantastic. They've revolutionized the combat system. They've done a great job with these games. I'm looking forward tonight to Arkham Knight coming out. I know both of you guys are too. We're going to have to call it there, though. So I'd like to thank our sponsors, Dual Bus Design, Excelsior Games and Comics, and Sound G Entertainment. I'll see you in the Nerdverse.